Welcome back to another episode of Free Play Hoops. Me and Meech have a very stacked episode for you guys today. We're going to talk about my trip to the Bulls game last night. There's some injuries in that game as well as many others. What does this mean for the league? Should the league be shortened? Should there be a minimum of games played for all NBA? Then later on, we've got our guys Morgan and Ian from Take5Pod. Go give them a follow at TakeVPod on all platforms. Going to get into some Hawks basketball, a lot of trade rumors, discussions on direction. We're going to talk some Sixers basketball, that same sort of deal. Maxi's
hmm
having an MVP campaign right now. So we've got a very jam-packed episode for you guys today. Excited to get into it.
How are we feeling today?
Well, I watched the Bulls get absolutely hammered by 35 last night.
Yeah.
We saw Kobe White get injured 7 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
Josh Giddey got hurt literally right out of halftime. I'm just concerned. I think there's so many implications on what this means. There's two of your main ball handlers that are hurt. The only real guy that can really set your offense at this point that's healthy is Trey Jones.
It's
I don't
rough.
have a lot of faith in
It
Billy.
sucks for us.
It's
You
it's
know what
very
really
rough.
hurts about it too is that Kobe trade value, it might take a little plummet. It might be a little harder to trade him now. We better hope he gets healthy very soon.
Yeah, it was definitely starting to go up before he got hurt. There's a lot of great fourth quarter things that he has shown the past few games, and
Yeah.
that's definitely a very significant blow.
Let's really hope it's not like a lingering injury because I'm pretty sure this is the same calf that he injured in the off season. So we got to
Right.
really hope that that calf is okay. I'll donate mine if I have to.
I will 100% donate mine as well, but I think as far from a creation standpoint, we've only got one. I'm not totally high on Io DeSumo as a creator. I think he's definitely more of a combo guard. He's definitely more of a defensive minded guy who can be a
Yeah.
secondary ball handler, but you definitely need a guy that is more capable of handling the ball when he's on the court.
Dalen
Um,
Terry
as
season.
far, Dale and Terry season,
hmm
Patrick Williams back in the rotation.
Oh yeah, love it.
The only the only euphoric part at the end, we had 100 level seats. We were trying to yell at Chris Finch to put in Joe Ingles. We were trying but to no avail. As far as the Bulls, we don't have the roster construction right now. We
No.
don't have a very talented roster.
Oh,
When we were going on that little run, Patrick Williams was getting no burn. Dalen Terry getting no burn. I just I think in order for this to be a successful run, because we also don't know how long Kobe or Josh is going to be out. I think what I want to see most, and I'm not sure if Billy Donovan will do this, but I think what Billy Donovan really does need to focus on is just getting Montes Buzelis the ball more.
mm-hmm.
I think this is kind of his time to shine, to let him make mistakes. At this point, you need
Yep.
him to let him be some sort of creator, because right now, like, I think Billy's not trusting enough of him. I know we've
Nope.
discussed this a little bit before in the tier list pod. Here's my deal on Billy Donovan, and I think I might have addressed this in the last pod. I think he's just trying to do what the front office is telling him to do, and it's just kind of like that sort of chain reaction.
Yep.
And it starts all the way at the top. It starts with the Reinsdorfs. It starts with them not wanting to spend money, and then it affects the decisions that the front office tries to make, because we're trying to keep it competitive. We don't want it to be, oh, we are rebuilding, oh, we are competing. We want to stay like right in the middle. We want enough to sell seats.
Play in
We're in a big
merchants.
market. Exactly. Like
Mhm.
we are a big market team with a small market mindset, and it annoys the living heck out of me as a Bulls
Me
fan.
too.
I'm
Me
sure it
too.
annoys you too. Even the poor draft decisions that they made. We've already talked about Noah Senge, who's out for the year with a shoulder injury. I just don't have a defense for picking Noah Senge over a guy like Derek Queen, especially when we need some sort of center of the future, especially with the impending free agency of Vooch and Zach Collins. The only real center that we have on the roster is Jalen Smith through this next year. And I just genuinely think we need a little bit more of a center for the future, and I wish we would have
Mhm.
taken Derek Queen. I just don't think they've had a really good string of draft selections outside of Io, outside of Modest. That's pretty much it. Jul like just trading into the draft of I think like 2023 or 2022. I think it was 2023 when we picked Julian Phillips. He's shown some flashes, but I think at the same time, we got to call a spade a spade. He doesn't provide too much for you offensively.
No.
Just another athletic guy. He doesn't play a whole lot of defense. I think he can't. The theory is that he can, but we don't really know what he's getting out of him. We just
I think
keep
if he puts
drafting
on some
these.
more weight, he could be pretty good for us. It's just our
Right.
team. The issue is we love taking these very raw players and we just can't develop them. So I don't know why we keep drafting like even Dalen Terry. Like people thought he's gonna be more NBA ready, but you also knew that he was still very raw. Julian Phillips is very raw. Noah Asenge very raw.
Patrick Williams,
Matas,
Patrick Williams
yeah,
at the
Patrick
time we
Williams
drafted him very
very
raw.
raw,
He didn't
very
even
raw.
start on his college team. He was supposed to be a maybe 12th overall pick in that year,
Yeah.
and again was taken fourth overall. The I feel like when you're at a standstill like you are with a team like the Bulls, I feel like drafting a project player is something that you do when you are in a position like the Oklahoma City Thunder, where there's no real pressure to contribute right
Hmm.
now,
Yeah.
or even when you're like dead set in rebuilding,
Yeah.
like a Wizards team or even like a Brooklyn Nets team, where you give these young guys the opportunity to just play. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I feel like also that just becomes it's also a coaching thing. I think they hired Billy Donovan. They gave him the extension with the expectation of we're intending to make this team competitive. We are going for a playoff spot. Like we're not trying to tank. We're trying to be competitive.
Hmm.
We've got higher aspirations than just tanking.
Yeah.
He's not built for a rebuilding role. That's not his MO. I don't think that's his calling card. That's why we extended him, which I don't think there was really a reason why we did. Really, again, it's just about being honest with ourselves, looking in the mirror, calling a spade a spade. We're not competitive. I don't think we're going to make some real noise in the Eastern Conference, no matter how many flashes that we've really shown. We're gonna make it out of the play-in just to, be throttled by the Knicks in like 5 games. In the terms of the front office, oh, we're competitive. Oh, we can be a playoff team. And then just pushing to make these moves to bring all these guys in. I don't think there's really a real way for us to build out of the middle with something like this. There's a lot of guys and roles that just construction wise has just been not very bright. And I think the front office definitely deserves a decent amount of blame here. I
Hmm.
think again, like Billy Donovan, he's not a rebuilding type coach. He's not a guy
No.
who's going to really give leniency to these rookies, to these young guys when they make mistakes and just letting them develop. This is not a situation that I feel like he's really, you know, been in since he's entered the league as a head coach. He left the Oklahoma City Thunder after that Chris Paul surprise run to the playoffs that year in the bubble. They let him go because they were not, I think they knew something that I think this front office is having a very hard time coming to grips with is that we're not totally sure if we want him around during this rebuild. Like this is not a guy that we can really rely on to be the head coach of a team that's rebuilding
So I
or
think
that's planning on rebuilding.
the reason I think they re-signed him is I think they know he's not a developmental coach, but I think the reason why they re-signed him was to kind of try to build a culture in Chicago. Because
Hmm.
if you look back, the Bulls have changed head coaches all the time after Thibodeau, just all the time. I mean, Fred Hoiberg, we had Jim Boylan, the worst coach of all time. Like we've really changed a bunch of coaches, and I think they re-signed Billy Donovan. He's not a great coach. He's not a good developmental coach, but he's like a good coach if you can give him a competent team. I think they just wanted to build a culture and stability within the organization. And I feel like a lot of the players like Billy Donovan. I've never heard players talk badly about him. So I think that was the whole reason why they did that was to build stability and a little bit of a culture in the Bulls organization. I mean, we've been swapping out coaches like nothing. The front office has kind of screwed him over here. They held on to Zach LaVine too long. We got nothing for him. We got
Hmm.
our pick back. I mean, Trey Jones has been nice. Kevin Herr's been nice, which will probably deal him at the deadline.
Zach
Well, at
Collins has
least,
been nice.
yeah, Zach Collins has been nice, but like, that's not a package you go and get for Zach LaVine. Okay. But also, they held on to him for way too long. We got nothing. Nothing. I mean, we got a Coro for Alonso, and looking back on it, it's not as bad as we all thought. Okay, um, but like when you look between Caruso, DeMar, Zach, Lonzo, we didn't get any additional draft capital. We got our pick back. That's it. I mean, that's a front office issue, skill issue. But let's just chill talking about the Bulls. I'm gonna get very pissed off. I'll be here for the next 4 hours, really dissecting everything. Um, let's talk about Nikola Jokic got injured yesterday. Did they come out and say what the injury was?
He
Was it
he hyperextended his knee, and he's going to
okay?
be out for the next 4 weeks.
Okay, Joe, what is going on with all these injuries across the league now?
I think it's definitely worthy of a conversation that I've seen a lot of other guys in the basketball podcasting injury. I think I saw Zach Lowe say something like that. I think I even saw Bill Simmons say something like that. I think the duration of this league of a season, it needs to be shortened a
Hmm.
little bit as far
Yeah.
as the number of games. I think I kind of went about saying that in a wrong way. I think I meant to say just less games over the course of the many months that is composed in an NBA season. It's not good for the league that these guys keep getting injured, especially these guys that are next up that are getting hurt. Wemby was out for a while, Luka was out for a while. Tyrese Halliburton, Achilles injury, Jason Tatum, Achilles injury. All these guys that are not going to be available and going to be eligible for an all NBA team, they're going to miss out on all these accolades. They're going to miss out all these benefits in their contract. These I don't even think it's exclusions. These bonuses that they'll
Yeah.
even be able to reach. I think it really affects the marketability of some of these teams and in this league as a whole. And it kind of leads me to another thing that like kind of made me upset about the all NBA team minimum 65 game requirement because I think about this. I think about back in 2020 where it was LaMelo Ball's rookie year. He won rookie of the year. I think it was 2021 actually now that I think about it. LaMelo Ball and Joel Embiid both played 51 games over the course of that season. And I think it was only 72 games, so it was definitely shortened. LaMelo Ball won Rookie of the Year, where I think a guy like a Tyrese Halliburton or an Anthony Edwards even like probably deserved it a little bit more.
Hmm.
And then this is the first year of the Embiid Jokic rivalry where Embiid played 51 games, Jokic played more games, he won the MVP. And I just feel like the game requirement should be like not a set in stone rule. I think it should just be like, all right, we'll keep this in mind, but
Hmm.
and I'm not saying like a guy should be nominated for like any sort of NBA all NBA team playing like 40 something games. When you play like amount of like 60 games, like if you're going to set that in stone, I feel like it should be like 60 games or
Yeah.
like 57 or something like that.
What's
I
it
think
set at right now?
65 is a little
65.
65 because you're missing out like a good like chunk of the season. You're missing out a quarter of a season, and then now like they're not going to be eligible. They're not going to meet criteria for bonuses and all of that stuff. It takes away from like the marketability of some of these guys. Yes, I understand you're putting new guys into that sort of spotlight and say, hey, these guys have had spectacular seasons. Like, we're going to talk about Tyrese Maxey in a little bit here, but I think he's having an all NBA first team caliber season. Whereas like when all these guys have gotten hurt, I don't know if a season like that is going to net him first team necessarily. Maybe he'll be third team. I honestly I don't know.
Hmm.
This is all just speculation, but I just feel like that 65 game requirement should be lowered or even just taken away at all. I just think it kind of ruins things a little bit.
I
I think
think
that's
I
something that's
think
better left like kind of
I think they added it for the right intentions. Like this wasn't a gigantic issue before in the league, where all the
Hmm.
stars and all these players are getting injured from hyperextended knees to calf injuries to, and it's just like, are they overworking these guys outside of games where that's what's the cause of all these injuries? Um, you could say the back-to-backs are too much. Like, I don't know if it's the amount of games that are the issue. Maybe it's the scheduling. Maybe it's the all the traveling or whatever. I don't know. But like I said, I think they added in the 65 game minimum for good intention to stop load management because the season before they put it in, a huge load management issue with a bunch of these players like LeBron, Kawhi, Joel Embiid would also load manage sometimes. And so I think they added it for that reason to try and stop the load management. But now it's these guys, if they play 64 games, they don't have a chance to even get a nod for these. And it's just, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. I agree. I think they should maybe lower it to maybe like you said, 57 would be a good number.
And I think even when you really think about it, like 57 games, that's still like maybe over a third of the season. But I think at this rate, I think that's more of just like kind of a behind the scenes like thing that you could kind of put in the contract too, rather than just like the league wide, like we're gonna, make this actually a thing. We're gonna set this in stone. Like a guy like Wemby, especially as of recently, who, he's the best defensive player in the league, I think, right now. So if he's out for a while and he doesn't meet that 65 game threshold, he's not going to be able to win defensive player of the year. He's not going to do this. And I think I understand it, like you said, like with the load management thing, there at the
Mhm.
time they implemented it, it was a huge problem. But I think it also kind of takes away from the guys that are genuinely going through these like long-term injuries
Yeah, but I guess
that
at the
I
same
think
point of
definitely.
that, it's like if you have that long term of an injury and you only do play 50 games, like do you really deserve to have a chance at MVP or these first, second team, third team nods?
I think when it gets
Like
to like 50, yeah, no chance. Absolutely not. But I think it's like when you get to like I think even lowering it down to like 60, I think is probably better.
yeah, the best ability is
This
availability.
availability.
Now we're gonna transition into our interviews with Ian and Morgan. We're gonna talk some Hawks, we're gonna talk some Sixers, and I hope you guys enjoy. So
We'll be
let's
right
cut to
back.
that right now.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of Free Play Hoops. I'm right here with Meech, but I also got two special guests. More of a special episode. I got my guys Ian and Morgan from TakeVPod. Brief little history lesson. Ian was one of the first people I knew at college. Talk some sports, really got into it, and then started his own podcast at Take Five, introduced me to Morgan and the rest of the gang. So they really got me to where I am today. So it's a pleasure to have these guys. Ian, Morgan, how you guys doing today?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having us on.
What's up, y'all? How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling?
Everybody go check them out at Take V Pod. We're gonna link that wherever. Right now we're gonna get into some Hawks ball. There's a lot of trade rumors. Morgan, one of the bigger Hawks guys I know, haven't won a game since Trae Young came back. What have you seen so far that has caught your eye?
What have I seen so far that has caught my eye? Are we talking about this season or are we talking about the 7 years that Trey Young has been a Hawk? Because we're seeing a lot of the same, if you ask me, Joey. Well, let's set the parameters. Like, what are we talking about right now? Are we talking about just as Trey has gotten back in the
This
fold?
season, the last 7 games.
The last 7 games this season. Okay. So let's dive into some of the problems that the Hawks have. The most glaring problem that we have as a basketball club is the fact that we struggle on defense. Can be attributed to many different things. But if you look down at the other team, you'll see that they have somebody that's over 6'10 guarding their basket. We do not. It can be a little bit difficult, when we start talking about the trenches of basketball. Like we all know sports, we know how the game works. If we're talking about protecting the rim from easy baskets, easy twos, keeping your team out of foul trouble, that's what a center can prevent. And then we're also talking about rebounding the basketball, getting second chance opportunities for your team and keeping them from getting those opportunities. That's something that the Hawks have missed out on big time, right? And it makes it very, very difficult to win games because the margin of error everywhere else is extremely thin. So if you see games where, you turn the ball over 20 plus times, your guys don't have a good shooting night, what have you, it's going to be very difficult to get out of that game alive. So that's what I've seen over the past 7 games, and quite frankly, the entire season.
I think something that has caught my eye too when I've watched the Hawks, the amount of spacing whenever Trey Young is on the floor is there, and when he's not there, is there's just some conglomerate in that sort of mid post area, especially in that Miami game I watched a little bit towards the end where I think they were only down like 12 points, 13 points. When Trey Young is not on that floor, there's not a lot of passes available to them. They're taking away that first initial read, and sometimes I feel like that's where that only read is versus everybody's spacing the floor. Trey Young is getting into the paint, where I think his best ability as a scorer is that floater shot versus his three pointer. But even if he's driving to the lane and kicking it out, he's got all these options. I think that's just kind of where I've seen this team struggle a little bit on the offensive end. I was just curious what you kind of thought of that as well.
Well, listen, they always get on me on our podcast just about Trey Young's, he's my favorite player in the NBA. I'll start with that. So there is some bias that comes into my taste when it comes to Trey Young. But we have to understand that this is one of the best offensive players that we have in the game. Like you can look at the numbers to prove that. You know what I mean? He's going to be able to score the ball at will. He can shoot the ball. He has a mid-range game. He has the float game, right? He's a three-level scorer, knows how to get to the free throw line. That's fine individually. But what he's able to do by passing the ball, right, is where he really makes the big dollars. That's why he has a job in the NBA. Like we've seen a lot of scoring guards come through, but those that are able to lead a team, get the best out of whatever's around him, is why I crown Trey Young one of those best offensive players. The offensive struggles, it's not something you typically see with the Hawks team. We've seen it lately. When you have a Trey Young on the floor, you're going to be running some more pick and rolls. You're going to be letting him, like you said, dissect the defense, that sort of thing. And when he's not there, we've got to go back to, that style of play where we're moving the ball around the horn, maybe some DHOs, that's the type of things like just to get into space, get buckets. But Trey Young, he's been our guy for years, and I don't see that changing, but I'm sure we'll get into that shortly.
Zachary Risachet, second year player, former first overall pick. There's been rumors that the Hawks are looking to deal him because they're not pleased with the way he's developing. What have you seen out of Zachary Risachet, and what do you gauge his value at as of right now? In an ideal world, what would you want for a guy like Risachet?
It's always tough with Arisa Shea because he is a number one overall draft pick. I sent you guys a graphic of some of the other number one overall draft picks that we've had, the Paolo Bancheros of the world, the Wembenyamas of the world, the Anthony Edwards of the world. He's not one of those guys, right? And I believe everyone knew this going into the draft that we weren't going to have one of these guys. So in some sense, it's unfair to even pin that on him to be this pivotal franchise player for the Atlanta Hawks, right? So he's come in the fold and he's been a 3 and sometimes D type of wing player. As far as the Hawks timeline, you have a guy in Trey Young that's in his seventh season, I believe. He's out here in his prime looking to win. Now you have a Jalen Johnson, who we've seen multiple years of. If you're a Hawks fan, we know this guy was going to be great, going to reach that all-star territory that he's in right now. You have to put guys around those two that are going to elevate them from their faults. And we've seen a lot of their faults through these past 7 games throughout the season when we talk about the defensive side of the ball. They do everything else. But if you can't have other guys to fill in those gaps, fill those holes, right, with the Risachet, with an Okongwu, with any of those other guys, a Kennard that you want to roll out there, then it just becomes tough. And this is a league, gentlemen, that a 3 and D wing, it's a dime a dozen. You can find a 3 and D wing in this league, right? But Risachet, it's just tough because again, he's in a situation where he was number one. So we had high expectations, even if they weren't to the Wembenyama stratosphere, right? but I can't say that he's met those expectations for the city.
I think Ricochet, when I see him, I see just another raw young player. And I think he's just being put in a position where the team he got drafted to, they're trying to compete, they're trying to make the playoffs, they're trying to go the distance. They're not really focusing on on his own development. I think we kind of expected him, like you said, we didn't expect him to be a Cade Cunningham, Bankero, Wembanyama, those guys that you really expect to be multiple time all-stars, multiple all-time
Mhm.
NBA first teams. I still think he can be an Andrew Bogut, Andrew Wiggins kind of player for a very good team. I think he just needs the proper place where the coaching staff will allow him to develop to get those reps. And I feel like with the pressure to win right now, with the team that the Hawks team is building right now, it's built to compete. It's built to say, hey, we are trying to make the playoffs. We're trying to make something happen. I just don't know if this is the right place for him to develop.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think um, his process just needs to be a lot sped up if they want to win now with the Hawks. So I think like all these trade rumors, it definitely makes sense because I don't think he fits their timeline like you're saying.
I think it's a little tough too because he gets a lot more pressure on him than he's probably needing just because he is the number one overall pick. But everyone kind of knew that he's going to be like a project player. He's coming from France. You kind of understand it's going to take them some time to develop. It is just a little unfortunate that he's in a bad situation. And I think if he wasn't drafted number one, if he was taking like 3 or 4, like there wouldn't be as much of a push to like trade him and like get him out. You just know that his trade value is a lot higher because he was a number one overall pick.
We talk about it being a poor situation for development. I do understand that, but my thing is this: he's not in a Cooper Flag position to where, okay, you're gonna come in, you're gonna have to be a 6'9" point guard today, right? And keep our team afloat. Like that's gonna have to happen right now. No, we roll Ricochet out there. You could pay 20 to 30 minutes a night, just depending on what you're doing out here. You know what I mean? You're a 6'10" wing, right? We're gonna get you the ball in your shooting pocket, and you'll be able to make an impact. I mean, the kid had like a 30+ point game. It took like two some dribbles or something like that. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna get you the ball where you can succeed. But when we talk about the things that make players great, rebounding the ball, extra effort on defense, not fouling a guy on the last play of the game before the ball is inbounded. Like that's the kind of things that irk you if you're a Hawks fan and you just want to see this team competing for a playoff position. I get the development, I get all of that, but not every guy, has fell into that type of position as a number one to be able to take it slow. I mean, I don't know if that pressure is really there, to be honest. Like we're too busy blaming a Trey, looking at how great JJ's been, or
But
wherever Porzingis is at, to focus on Ricochet.
But with Trey, don't you feel like right now it's now or never, especially with Trey, like to actually make a push in the playoffs? I don't know if Reese is going to really take you there in the playoffs. Like, I feel like you need a little bit more.
I think so, but it's just the fact that one thing that makes me mad as a Hawks fan and as a Trey Young fan is that we never openly declare Trey Young our franchise, right? I'm even reading reports today. Oh, the Hawks are willing to accept that, we're going to move in the Jalen Johnson direction now, or whatever the case may be. We don't embrace him as a superstar. I don't agree that we even have built around a Trey Young as others have built around their stars to hide their faults or whatever the case is. We just kind of put some parts out there, and God bless Landry Fields and whatever he's doing these days. But it's a great thing that we got him out of there, right? We finally get some different guys to mix it up a bit, right? But I still believe, I mean, where's our big man?
When
Yeah.
Porzingis has been available for you, he's looked really good. And I think one of the main talking points that we've talked over on Take Five about was we've never seen Trae Young with a big man as skilled as Porzingis is. I love the move initially because, yes, he's on a $30 million contract, but if things just so happen to not work out, he's not as available, you're out of that contract as soon as next year goes. And now, when you're looking to trade for a guy like an Anthony Davis or even a Giannis, that $30 million expiring is going to be very valuable and kind of netting you that big fish. I think also with Trae Young too, and we talk about building around your superstar, he could still be a very good 2 or 3 on a very competitive championship level team. Some of the decision making that he makes sometimes is a little questionable. I'm going to bring up that Bulls game again, where he was getting real shots within the offense. It looked totally just smooth. He was, again, dissecting the offense with his passing. And then when stuff started to go downhill a little bit, the defense kind of started to let up. I think it was in like the late third quarter where Trae Young just took like 2 30-foot 3-pointers just out of nowhere, no offensive sets whatsoever. I just feel like you need to kind of go back to what was helping getting your team in the game in the first place and just finding your rhythm in that sort of offense. But I just think like his game just needs to mature a little bit. I think he needs to be put with someone kind of in that backcourt that can really score the ball and can kind of make him relegate to that pass first guy that can handle the ball, can space the offense out, get these guys their open looks.
As far as again, as far as team composition, one thing I constantly battle so-called Atlanta fans about is if you can win with a small guard in the NBA, right? And this has been a topic of discussion as we move forward into this era of the triple-double player, right? The big forward point guard that can give you 10, 10, and 10, you know what I mean? And he's kind of this Swiss Army knife type of guy. And I'm with the fact that, you see a lot of those players thrive and become successful in this league. But there are still players, the Trae Youngs, the Steph Currys, the Damian Lillards of the world, the Kyrie Irvings of the world, where they're quote unquote undersized, but still reach a level of success. And you have to look at their team composition. Like when we first got Trae Young, we tried to treat him like Steph Curry. Okay, we're gonna get a Capella out there, right? We're gonna put a bunch of these what's the term, Joey?
The rim runner,
So
the lob finisher.
get you some lob threats, but I'm talking more of the connectors of the world. You know
Okay.
what I mean? We're gonna put some of those guys out there, surround them with these shooters, have them fly around. But I would like to see more of the Isaiah Thomas bad boy Pistons type composition when we try and elevate Trae Young to a competing team.
You mean like the
I don't know
Timberwolves?
what type of podcast this is, so y'all forgive me. We have too many light skins on the team. Like we have too many finesse type players with no type of toughness or no type of heart to come out there, right? So, I'm watching Trae Young get into it with Ayo Dosunmu. You know what I mean? Like, there's no guy, clocking him like, yo, get your hands off of my point guard type of thing. It's nothing like that. Like, Trae Young talks the most on his own team, and he's the smallest guy out there. I say all of that to say we need junkyard dogs, guys that are willing to do the dirty work in order to succeed. Reese Shea is not that. Jalen Johnson learned how to play offense, so he's not going to play defense anymore, right? Kongu's too small. I don't. It's not the correct composition to elevate a Trae Young, which can bring us to trade conversations. Like it's not working, so shake it up.
It's not working. It hasn't been working for the past like 5 years.
Hey, trust the process, kid.
Bro, I'm just saying, like we can just be honest. If they can't find a way to build around Trae Young, they should just cut their losses. They have a superstar in Jalen Johnson in the making, bro. He's not the same player as Trae Young, but like I feel like he can develop into a really, really elite player.
I think we've seen a lot of ins and outs. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Morgan. I think over the past few years, ever since they picked up Trey Young, we've seen kind of the front office turnover. And I don't remember exactly when they brought Quinn Snyder into the fold. Do you think that there needs to be changes in the coaching department?
My thing is this, the coach is only the cook. If you don't have the proper ingredients to make a good meal, it becomes very difficult. The most successful we've seen Quinn Snyder, most likely the only time we've seen him on his own as a head coach. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. You have all-time defensive player Rudy Gobert anchoring your defense. And for as many woes, like he's still a rim protector. He's somebody that goes in, does the dirty work for his team, and he's been on many successful playoff teams because of that, right? So he was able to catapult that team to being number one in the West, many years, deep playoff runs, what have you. Didn't get the job done, of course, but he still was able to find success that way. So now you bring him over here, and Meech, how tall is our center?
Not tall enough.
He's not tall enough. He's 6'8". You know what I'm saying? Like he's 6'8". So it's very difficult, right? That's why we wanted Porzingis, all our conversations we have. If Porzingis stays healthy, if Porzingis is on the floor, because it could look very different. And we've seen, glimpses and flashes, but I think Quinn Snyder is a good coach. I just worry that it's going to be enough is enough when we talk about the defense. I mean, you're going to have to find a way with what you have. I don't care what you do. You got to find a way.
Morgan and I were talking, I think, after the Miami Heat game or at some point after the Bulls game, the second Bulls game, and there was a certain lineup that got brought up. I think it was Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Luke Kennard, Vic Krejci, Asa Newell, and I don't remember if Okongwu was a part of that or if it was someone else, but I did the liberty of looking up what the stats were for that lineup, and the net rating was just absolutely horrible. Morgan knows exactly what I'm talking about too. He told me he's never seen that lineup in his life. I think in that Bulls team, it kind of made sense just because you had a lot of guys that can space the basketball, and the Bulls have had a very hard time sliding their feet and defending the three. So in that defense, I didn't think it was that crazy, but I think we really downplayed the inept defense, and you have only really one real guy who can defend on the perimeter, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And as good as Asa Newell is defensively, he's not a guy that you can really plug and play defensively at that center position because, again, he's like 6'6". He can give you all the defensive versatility in the world, but you can put him on a guy like a Vucevic who's 6'9", 6'10", or a Zach Collins, even a Jalen Smith, all these like bigger guys. And, he's going to get roasted in the paint. And especially with like a drive and kick guy like a Josh Giddey, he's got to rotate to all of these other guys because you don't totally know if a Vic Krejci is going to recover in time, if a Luke Kennard is going to recover in time. What do you suppose we do? What's the path here, Morgan?
Like this stretch that we're in, it's bottom of the barrel. It's like no, you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. You don't really know where to go from here. But you do know one thing though. There are a few things actually. You know what the team needs. We've got to get some type of big man. Like we don't even have a big man we could roll out there from the G League at this point. Just as a big body to come in, swat some shots, get a couple fouls. We're going to have to get a big man. And at some point in Trey Young's 7-year career, Joey, he's gonna have to have some type of backup point guard that they can rely on. Because when you do have to roll out a lineup of a Mo Gouye, a Vit Krejci, and some of those guys that will at least give you, I don't doubt that they give the effort to play defense. Somebody's got to organize them on offense, and I just think we need to delegate that a little bit more. But what I can say is this, though. We knew Jalen Johnson would be great. I believe even if you crunch the numbers, to all the haters that may be watching, um, of his stats when he's on the same court as Trey Young. We see that duo. We see that connection. They have that type of chemistry. To my personal opinion, those are two guys that you can build around, and you've gotten enough good glimpses out of an Okongwu, out of a Risa Shea to at least get on the phones and see what we can do.
I think you can definitely compile some of the expiring salaries. I know we've already mentioned Porzingis, but Luke Kennard's already on a 1 year, I think
Get
$11
them out of
million
here.
deal.
Get them out.
But I think the Hawks do have a decent amount of good assets that they can really compile together to get a big fish, whether it's an Anthony Davis, whether it's a Giannis. And I like the Pelicans pick that they have. I think when you are going after a Giannis, I find it really hard to come up with a package that does not include that Pelicans pick. Even with an Anthony Davis, too, I feel like it's a little hard to not include that Pelicans pick. I know there's a lot more question marks with Anthony Davis as far as health and just availability for you guys. I mean, you guys are already dealing with Kristaps Porzingis at this point. At this point, I think a Giannis path would be imminent, but I think I could also see embracing the rebuild. I don't know if Giannis is going to get traded from Milwaukee, be it to Atlanta, whatever. If Milwaukee continues to go into the tailspin that it's going into, I think you can get 3 lottery picks in a supposed to be very stacked draft. And I think that really is interesting to see what can happen with that.
It's interesting, but I still stand on the fact that it's Trey Young, it's Jalen Johnson. I don't know if there's anything in the draft that you're going to have get that immediate impact you need in order to make a deep run. I say you use those picks, right? Throw them at the wall, see what you can land. And if that is good enough, like Anthony Davis is, I mean, it's more of if he's healthy type of thing. It'd be tough for me to vouch for that. I'm an AD fan, but I just think, yeah, you've got to go with these guys and see what you can do.
I just want to say, Morgan, I know you've probably got to head out a little bit, but really appreciate you heading on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it a lot, man. It's been a real pleasure having you. It's been a real pleasure podcasting with you and getting to know you. Shout out Ian for introducing me for sure. But I think we pretty
appreciate
much
y'all.
I think we pretty much covered everything that we wanted to with the Hawks. So once again, thank you guys. Go check Morgan out. Check out the rest of Take 5. We'll be back for a Sixers segment with our guy Ian. So
Hell yeah.
God. Nah, but I definitely.
we are back. We had a nice little dialogue with Morgan about the Hawks. Now we gotta move over to Ian's Sixers. New face of the franchise, it seems. Tyrese Maxey's having an MVP season. I know he's already licking his lips down there. He's ready to talk about this, man. Talk to me.
Yeah, man. I mean, going to the season, I just had hope that we would be healthy. Paul George, Joel Embiid, especially. Getting back McCain, I thought was going to be a huge piece for us offensively, especially with that second unit. Like most of the time when Joel's off the floor, like the offense is just flat. But this year, definitely have a lot more from Maxey, which is good to see. I feel like he's getting better every year. Even defensively, like I feel like he's a pest on defense. Like he's not just a cone like most small guards are. So it's really good to see from him, really maturing into that superstar level player. I've been preaching to Joey. He's been the MVP for most of the year, but I think Jokic or Shea's definitely going to take that crown this year. But he's been playing well at an all-star level. So, I mean, that's all you can really ask for from your best player. He's giving us a hope going into the all-star break. So hopefully we can make a push to be like one of those top 5 seeds, hopefully.
On Take 5, whenever we usually talk about the Sixers, Ian's most known for being a troll and with his Sixers propaganda. I will give him this. I think Tyrese Maxey's having a season worthy of an All-NBA first team nod for sure, especially with some of the other injuries that we've kind of already mentioned by this point. But I think also another piece here, like Ian mentioned a little bit vaguely before, was the Paul George and Joel Embiid pieces. Obviously, you signed them to very lucrative contracts. Paul George over 4 years, you got like the $214 million contract. You signed Embiid to a $180 million extension over 3 years. Now that there's kind of a passing of the torch when it comes to the face of this franchise, I feel like they have a little bit more of an identity of playing fast and playing through Tyrese Maxey. VJ Edgecombe at 3, like I think was 100%. I don't want to say a safe pick, but I think also he is someone where if you needed him to be a role guy and if all the stars align for this team, he can still be a very huge contribution for you. And he far exceeded those sort of expectations. So now with that sort of passing of the torch, what's going to become of Paul George? What's going to become of Joel Embiid? Because I see all these other teams in the NBA that try to mimic the dual timeline sort of things, and the Golden State Warriors kind of come to mind with that. And that's where you kind of are forced to either you can't really afford to put one foot in, one foot out. Like you kind of have to go one way or the other. I think with Paul George, I'm a little impressed because I feel like he's really been allowed to be that kind of role player guy, that perimeter stopper that we know he's capable of being, and not a whole lot of pressure of being on the ball. He can just spot up in the corner and just be that. He can provide you a little bit of creation if need be. Just kind of like, I don't want to say like vintage Paul George, but he's being put into a more appropriate role where you're not asking a whole lot out of him. Joel Embiid, I think I still have yet to see that from him a little bit. I think there's times where he's in the post, they try to put the ball into him and they send a double over to him or they try to trap him and it just seems like it's just a total black hole and he turns the ball over. And I think, with a lot of those injuries, the injury concerns, I'm a little concerned, especially at the contract point that he's at. Are you going to be able to trade him? I think you've also seen a lot of stuff out of these role guys. Kelly Oubre had a great season last year. Quentin Grimes has been great. I think he's definitely a guy the Sixers should look to re-sign. Even some of these power forwards where I've been so skeptical about your forward depth. Trendon Watford, he plays really hard. He's a huge hustler. Even Dominic Barlow has been
I love
insane, and
Barlow.
I believe he's on a two-way contract right now, and I think that's one of the more incredible things when it comes to this team, where he does so much for this team. You even have Andre Drummond, where you don't totally need him to do a whole lot. You just need him to rebound the ball, be there as an interior force. Adem Bona, who I still can't believe I think his second year in the NBA,
Yeah. Hmm.
which I think he just gives you a lot of energy, a lot of rim pressure, just pure athleticism, even though he's a little undersized at that center position. There's a lot of things that have really impressed me. Even McCain, I don't like, they've got a lot of pieces that I think really impress me. And even if you're trying to go in one direction or not, you can really mix and match. And I think that's what makes the Sixers team so interesting.
Yeah, I guess what you're saying with Joel Embiid and Paul George. I think Paul George definitely has found his role as that spark plug at times when you need some scoring, when Maxi's on the bench or when Maxi's not had his best, or maybe Joel's hurt. Like Paul George can give you 20 if you need it. So I think, he can definitely help us in the playoffs. Maxi's getting doubled or Joel's hurt or not there. I think he can give you some scoring. But Joel, I think, because like you said, playing fast is, I think, helping us a lot with Maxi and VJ. But then when we slow it down, it just kills our momentum. So it is, trying to find that fine line between, like you said, with our the future and our old players, trying to find that fine line between making them both happy and getting the most out of all of them.
Do you think that it is possible to trade Joel Embiid at this point? Because
Man,
me and Joe talked about this last week, and Joe was like, "There's no way." And I was on the other side where I'm like, "There's definitely a market for him. He's a gigantic center who has some of the best shot creation for his size, can play pretty good defense, and you're trying to tell me he has no market? Like, I get that he's on a giant contract, but surely this guy could be traded."
Yeah, I agree with you. I think on the to the right team, like a super win now team, like a team that has like a 1 to 2 year window, like definitely they would trade for him. But like Joey said, and like you brought up, like the contract is just, it's just no one wants that, especially at his point in his career. I think if a team is desperate enough, and they see a window right now, I think they'd take it. Like, but I don't know if we're ready this year. I feel like we're giving him one more chance just to prove it, especially with drafting VJ. I feel like he adds another layer to the team. Having McCain back is huge. I feel like everything's falling into place. He just needs to stay healthy, which is a big if. I don't know. I think there is definitely a market. He's still a great player.
What do you want to do? Would you want to keep Joel, or would you personally like to package him away and kind of shift the franchise into a different direction.
Yeah, I mean, as a fan, growing up with Joel on the roster, like he's been our team for the past like 8 to 10 years. Like, I mean, Maxi's been good the last 2 years, but it's always been Joel. So it's just hard to move on from a guy who's been meant so much to your franchise, but at the same time, like he's just never there when it really matters. So you do have to cut your losses and think about the future, especially with drafting VJ and having Maxi as the franchise player. You do have to start thinking about that. Honestly, I would give him one more chance. Just like you said, he's such a great player offensively. I feel like he does slow the game down for us, but I think that can help us. Like he definitely mixes up our offense. So I think that's definitely helpful.
Yeah, I think there's no denying the skill that Joel Embiid has. I think, especially with the injuries and just the trend of all these big centers who are like 7'1", 280, of just not being able to age well, overcome with injuries, that sort of thing. It's definitely very hard. I still think there's a place for him. It's hard going from an MVP candidate, an MVP winner, to now being overcome with injury after injury after injury. This season, we've kind of found a new identity again with the Sixers team playing fast and just being built around these younger players that can get up and down the floor, that can defend. And now I just feel like, again, with all the injuries, he's just kind of lost a step, and again just kind of slows your offense down. But I think, again, you still do kind of need it, and it's kind of hard to trade him at a price that would work out. I think if you really wanted some sort of like flexibility, get some expirings, you probably have to attach like maybe a pick or something, which obviously is not the most ideal thing to do. I think I'm with you. I'm not totally ready to give it up, but I think it's definitely something of note to where, he's not able to keep up with the pace of this younger team, where you have a guy like Andre Drummond, Adem Bona, all these guys that can really get up and down better than an Embiid can at this point. I mean, the skill is undeniable no matter injury questions or not. I think he just needs to kind of figure it out. I think with Paul George, like, you can say that he's overpaid too. Like I said, still is able to find a role that suits him, especially as he's getting older and, the injuries are still kind of piling on. But if you were to go down the road of getting Joel Embiid out of Philadelphia, what would you want?
I don't think we get the compensation that we should get for him, like the type of player he is. Like I think his age is gonna play a factor into what we get for him. We could get some like good picks in the future, maybe. Maybe there is a player that the team wants to shop, that's on the same level as Joel Embiid, but there's not many out there. I think like a something for the future, something to help us with our young players. VJ and Maxi, I feel like are gonna be here for a long time, so just trying to build around them.
What about Paul George? Are you thinking the role that he's in right now, do you think that kind of helps his trade value a little bit? I know he's in his second year of that contract. Do you think the way that he's kind of acclimating to this new play style is also going to help his value?
He's been in this second guy role. Like with Kawhi, he wasn't always like the main guy, but he was for a little bit. But then I feel like the year before he got traded, not traded, but the year before he went to the Sixers, he was like a 21, 22 point per game scorer. Like he wasn't like some out of this world scorer. So like I feel like he's been in this role where he can give you spurts of scoring and still be a really good player. But I don't know if there's teams out there that want him. I don't think he really has a future after this year. Like I know his contract, it says he has a couple more years on it, but as an effective player, I think it's coming to an end. So I just don't see any trade value for him.
It's good that he's finding his value. I think he's finally found an appropriate role for himself at this point.
Hmm.
And I know I've kind of sounded like a broken record over the course of this podcast, but I think it's good. I think this is a good spot for him, regardless of how much he's getting paid. I think it'd be a lot better to have him fit in to a role,
Hmm.
whatever you can, versus just being paid a ton of money just to, not be a part of it, not to
That's what
to
he was
not be
last
able to
year.
find his footing. Yeah, that's kind of how it was. I think there was a very much in between. You didn't really know what was going to be happening. Maxi was great, but
Mhm.
I don't think he wasn't really reaching like this level. We didn't really think he would, but that's not dismissing the quality player that Maxey is, and Edgecombe for sure. He's fantastic. McCain got hurt very early last season. I think there's still definitely a lot of interesting pieces, and I think you can kind of go in both directions. What kind of piece do you think that this Sixers team is missing right now? Because I know there was a lot of hype beginning of the season. They were at the top of the East. They kind of took a slide. I don't know if it's totally because of Paul George, because of Joel Embiid, but what do you think that's a result of?
I feel like our defense just hasn't been solid the whole year. I don't know what that attributes to. Maybe that's Joel just being slower in the paint. So there's just no interior defense. Like we have that with a Dembona, but like when Joel's there, it's so sad to watch, bro. He can't even jump. Like he doesn't even try to block it sometimes. So I think that definitely plays a part into it. Um, like, we have a lot of small guards, Quentin Grimes, McCain's, Maxey. I feel like VJ is a good defender, but he's kind of smallish too. So I feel like a 3 and D wing. I feel like that is like a perfect guy we need to trade for. Like I feel like Paul George used to be that, but he's more just a scoring option at this point. But someone like I don't even know
Patrick
who's
Williams.
Patrick Williams. Something. I don't know.
Take him off our hands, please.
Hey, we'll take Joel. We'll take Joel. We'll take the risk. Yeah.
I was gonna suggest someone like a Herb Jones. I feel like he'd be
Yeah.
very interesting for that Sixers team. I know there's a lot of Lakers talk, but I think kind of a dark horse candidate for a guy like Herb Jones. I was thinking of Trey Murphy, and I think his value is definitely going to skyrocket for a lot of teams. Like for the Pelicans, I feel like there's going to be a lot of people calling Joe Dumars at the Pelicans office. I think the Bulls are definitely one of those teams, but I think at this point, yeah, I 100% agree. I think you need that sort of 3 and D wing that can kind of guard these bigger East players like a Jalen Brown, like a Jason Tatum when he comes back. We don't totally know what he's going to be like yet.
Mhm.
Even a Giannis, because we're not totally sure what piece on this team can take that. And I know Giannis really makes a lot of people look silly in the paint. He's one of the most, if not the most dominant rim pressure guy in the league right now. You need a guy that is able to guard those bigger guys. So
And we used to just put Joel out there, and Giannis would still
Um,
put up 50. So like, I don't even know what's gonna happen at this point.
yeah, but at least Joel would put 40 back up,
Yeah, true, true.
minimize the damage there.
That's fair. But I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like Joel can give you a good game. It's just not going to be as consistent as it used to be.
you're set on Nick Nurse too. I think he's doing pretty solid. I think there were a lot of questions when he first got hired. I think now they've kind of found an identity. They've found something that they can really stick with.
I mean, he's been with us the past few years. I think he just got unlucky with a few injuries here and there. But he's made us competitive over the last few years. So, I mean, I can't be mad at it. I thought he would make us a better defensive team. I don't know why. I guess I thought his schemes were pretty good, but maybe we just need that one piece, like you said, the 3 and D guy, or maybe something interior wise. Just more
Yeah,
size.
I
Yeah.
think you definitely, yeah, just need a little boost in the personnel there. That's what I think. Because I even think back to when like Nick Nurse first started, maybe the last year of Doc Rivers, you guys had James Harden, you guys had Tobias Harris, who fine, like he's like you could even like at best like maybe good, not great. Like definitely had some inconsistencies with that. Joel Embiid again, top of his game. You had Nick Batum for a little bit. All these other guys. I think I know Meech loves the Nick Batum reference, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
obviously like Nick Batum was still aging at that point. He's just kind of dust and bones at this point. So having to rely on him to be kind of a stopper at like 35, 36, however old he is, obviously not the best route to go down. And so I think that's something that, you definitely could search for. Marcus Morris too. I kind of forgot he was in that deal. I find it kind of difficult to find any sort of other names outside of Herb Jones that
Ben
I
Simmons.
think
Ben Simmons. Oh,
Bro, he could
bring him
definitely help us
back.
defensively. I'm not gonna lie, he would make us a better defensive team at this point. We're so bad defensively. Even if he gets us 0 points on offense and is afraid to shoot layups, I'll take the defense. I'll take the defense.
Okay.
Got to get him out of the fishing
Homecoming.
boat really
Yeah,
fast.
dude.
Forgot about that. That's actually so crazy.
Ben Simmons. What a guy. What a guy.
No, I think we're just trying to find ourselves. We're in that in between, like you said, with Joel Embiid and Paul George, and then we got Maxey and Edgecombe and the young guys. But I think we'll find that medium before the playoff starts, and hopefully we can, really mesh and get everyone's best. I feel like we haven't really played together as a team. There's not a lot of continuity yet, but I feel like it'll definitely grow.
There's definitely a lot more time just getting guys healthy,
Exactly, yeah.
just finding some sort of consistency
Hey, do you know who'd be a
and just
good guy the Sixers could go get that'd be relatively cheap? Go get like a Derrick Jones Jr.
Honestly, he's
Like
been
a
on some
good,
playoff teams too.
yeah. Like he'll be a good role player. He's got the length. He could definitely like guard up on some guys. I think
Take
like for a
Okafor.
cheap option, Herb Jones is gonna cost a lot. Trey Murphy's gonna be a lot. Like that's a cheap guy where you could just it's not gonna cost much to go get him.
That's true.
I miss having airplane mode in Chicago. I think
Yeah,
now
me
that you
too.
mention it too, like that's a great piece. I think he'll add some rim pressure, a lot of athleticism,
Hmm.
be
Play
another
fast
like
too,
perimeter stopper. Yeah, like
Yeah.
if you really wanted to get risky with it, give him some small ball 5 minutes, but obviously not like a long-term solution. I think
Mhm.
that he's someone who really allows you a lot of flexibility with your lineups, and I think with a guy like Nick Nurse, I think you could really like fulfill his potential to be an impactful guy. He's contributed to a lot of playoff runs. He was in the finals with the Mavs. He's just an all-around great performer. He's an ideal role guy.
There's another world, honestly, where I feel like we'll just be fine with Kelly Oubre. Like, I know he's not the big three and D guy, but I
No,
mean, he can fill that role at
Yeah.
times. Um, Maybe not like on forwards, but on guards, he can play good defense. Like I remember back in the Knicks series last year, he did not play well on Jalen Brunson at all, but he was able to slow him down at times in the beginning. I feel like he can add another layer to the defense when he comes back healthy.
some other guy that I really kind of forgot about that really got swept under the rug, and I'm kind of mad that I did sweep him under the rug was Justin Edwards. He had a great end of the year last year when they were dealing with a lot of injuries. Even when I watch him sometimes too, I think he brings some real creativity. He looks good. He's definitely another weapon that I think you could really throw out there. He looks solid. I haven't seen a whole lot of him. I don't know if he's injured or not, but I really do want to see more of him.
I think we sent him down in the G League. I think he did get injured for a little bit, but yeah, I do like his shot. He spaces helps us space the floor a lot better when he's on there. He can drive at times. Like he's definitely grown his game. And he's still young too, so like I do like him in our future for sure. Like hopefully we can develop him more to a defender. I'd like to see that more, but I like his shot for sure.
Love it, dude.
Sounds
All
good.
right, Ian. Appreciate you coming on
Appreciate you,
once
Ian.
again. Thank
So
you for being a great friend, bringing me into this. It's been awesome ever since I got brought into this scape maybe 2, 3 years ago. It's only been up from here. So really wanted to spread the love immediately when I started this podcast and when we were starting to bring guests on. I was like, I want to bring him on. I think he's going to give some real good insight. So, I appreciate you being a good friend and
Mhm.
bringing me on.
yeah.
It's been a blast, man.
Thank y'all for having me. I really appreciate y'all letting me talk Sixers ball. Don't really get to talk about it much.
Hey, we'll have you back on soon
All
when
right,
Joel
bet,
Yeah,
man.
dude,
Embiid's
for
gone.
sure. A lot of big things.
Cool.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's the end of the episode. Shout out to Ian and Morgan from Take Five. Make sure to follow them on all platforms at TakeVPod. Give them a listen, give them a like. Great dudes, great time, great vibes. Whatever it takes, man. Take Five. Give them a listen. Thanks to Meech for being on. we've run a great second episode. It's fantastic that we're able to keep doing this. So be sure to like the video. Be sure to like us all on all platforms at Free Play Hoops.
Check back
See you
next
guys
Friday.
in the next.
New episode. We'll see you
We will
there.
see you. We'll see you guys next episode.